In this video, we're going to be going over a workout for sprinters. That entails an Olympic movement, an Olympic derivative, a plyometric, a ballistic, and for contrast set, we're going to be doing a contrast complex, and then we're going to go into a stability challenge exercise, and then a loaded combination, as well as a cool down, which will consist of dynamic and static stretches. Let's begin. The Olympic movement of the clean is a great way to train for the acceleration period of the sprint, which is 0 to 30 meters. The clean trains rapid triple extension and a high rate of force development. The hang clean forces the athlete to time the pull and catch while under some load. To be programmed 2 to 3 reps with longer rest when working with technique. It's important to pull the bar to the same height as the high pull and switch the elbows underneath very quickly in order to catch it with proper timing. Common errors that you can see is usually curling the bar rather than catching it quick enough, which you can see here in the video. To fix this, you can cue the person to catch underneath, so dropping their weight down, letting the bar fall into their hands rather than pulling it into their hands. The derivative of the clean pull to jumps reinforces powerful hip extension without the technical demand of the catch, which improves peak performance and projection angles. This aids in building vertical power too. The purpose of the clean pull is to develop the explosive hip extension and maintain the bar trajectory needed to raise the bar to that catchable height at your chest. Typically 3 to 5 reps for explosive power. You want to see a full, forceful drive through the hips with the bar staying close to the body. Common errors can include over or under extension of the hips, which can be seen as jumping too far forwards or backwards rather than maintaining the same position, or too early or too late for the arm engagement for the shrug. It's important to cue the quarter squat position, feet underneath the hips, chest over the bar, straight back, and focusing on the energy transfer through the posterior chain. Now for pogos, there's generally 3 ways to do it. Level 1 is just initiating the plantar flexion and getting off the ground as you would in jumping rope. Level 2 is adding in dorsiflexion. And level 3 is a combination of dorsiflexion and height. Elite sprinters do level 3. This uses the stretch shortening cycle, developing speed, reactivity, vertical velocity, dorsiflexion power, which are all crucial KPIs in fast sprinters. Performing 3 sets of around 12 reps, resting about 30 seconds. For the ballistics exercise, we're going to be doing a reverse lunge with the med ball rotation and hip flexion, ensuring a quick, controlled motion with dorsiflexion at the top when your hip is flexed. Doing 3 sets of around 6 per side, using a med ball that challenges your stability, so not too light but not too heavy to the point where you can't do it without falling over. This works in the sagittal and transverse plane, training hip flexor speed, anti-rotation control, and single leg stability during the transition from stance to swing, which is a critical mechanic for sprinters. Working from a reverse lunge into the knee drive can train deceleration to reacceleration. Next up is the contrast complex work, combining traditional resistance training and ballistic training exercises to induce neuromuscular adaptations, superior to the adaptations compared to performing just resistance training alone. In this workout, we're doing walking lunges, contrasting with split jumps. And when combining this with back squat to jumps, Romanian deadlifts to standing broad jumps, and standing calf raises to pogo jumps, literature has shown significant improvement in 10, 15, 20, and 25 meter and 30 meter linear sprint times, as well as the 1 rep max squat, triple hop distance, and counter movement jump, which are all KPIs for sprinting. For volume, do 3 sets of around 6 reps at 80% of your 1 rep max. And then from there, you want to allow full recovery, which research really varies, anywhere from 3 to 12 minutes, but generally for trained athletes, 7 to 12 minutes should be adequate. And for those squat jumps, you can do 3 sets of 10 reps. A stability challenge that also works on hip flexor speed is box step up to toe touch. To start, you want to place your foot on a box or a bench or something that makes your femur parallel with the ground pretty much. And you want your foot to be basically aligned right underneath your body, so not behind you, not in front of you. Because for optimal speed and performance in sprinting, your foot strikes right underneath you on the ground. Then as fast as possible, you want to flex your hip and touch your toe, bring it back down and up. Do this consecutively for 5 reps, and you're going to do 3 sets of this on each leg. Rest for a minute or 2, and again, make sure you're always starting out with those pogos. Next, for the loaded combination, we're going to be going from a Romanian deadlift to a row. 2 sets of 6 to 8 reps at 70 to 75% of your 1 rep max of your row, since it's going to be less than the 1 rep max of your RDL. You want to perform a hip hinge for the RDL with a neutral spine, keeping the dumbbells close to your legs or the bar. Then perform the row, making sure to retract your scapulas, keeping the braced trunk, and then driving your hips back forward to the top. The RDL eccentrically loads the hamstrings, and when combined with the bent over row, which works the mid to upper traps and rhomboids, it'll reinforce the mechanics that stabilize the torso and optimize sprint efficiency. Now it's time that we can move into the cool down, so we can begin with some leg swings, so doing front to back on each side, about 2 sets of 10 per leg. You want to try to bring your foot as high as you possibly can and as back far as you possibly can, if you feel like your range of motion is limited because of the floor, you can go onto your tiptoes. This is going to stretch your hamstrings dynamically. And it's important that you stabilize yourself doing this, so something like a wall or a fence or anything else that keeps you still in the upper body. And then we're basically going to do the same thing, just sideways, so moving your foot left and right, rather than forward and backwards. This can stretch from your hip abductors and adductors, using the biggest arc of the swing you possibly can. Next, we'll do walking tandem calf stretch, which can be regressed to non-tandem. For this, you're just going to put one foot in front of the other in line with each other. Then you'll squat down until you feel the stretch in your calf, which really is your soleus, not your gastrocnemius, because of the degree of knee flexion here. And since we're doing this dynamically, you can put one foot in front of the other and walk with it, doing 2 sets of 8 per leg. Now to stretch your gastrocnemius, you can have your back leg extended, so don't have your knee bent at all. That's the leg that's going to be the calf that you feel it in. Leaning it forward into the stretch as you maintain contact with the floor on both of your heels. You can do this for about 2 sets of 15-second holds per side. We'll do a kneeling side bend stretch, and we can do about 3 sets of 10 to 15-second holds per side. This targets the hip flexor through the tensor fasciae latae, or TFL, through to the lat tricep fascia too. We can also do a regular hip flexor stretch, which can be done static or dynamically, placing the opposite arm of the front knee across the leg while contracting the glutes to use reciprocal inhibition to relax the hip flexors. And to vary the stretch between hip flexors iliopsoas and the rectus femoris, you can do the frog stretch. If your back knee is straight, then you're going to be stretching your iliopsoas, and if your back knee is relaxed and you sink the hip, your rectus femoris will be stretched more. Lastly, you can stretch the hamstrings with a split stance good morning with a cross reach to the ground. You want to make sure that your back knee is straight while the heel is still in contact with the ground, and your weight is primarily on your front foot with the other hand reaching back. You can either perform several reps or hold at the bottom.